He left as a boy, torn from everything he knew. The road pulling him forward while something primal screamed behind him. Something with dark eyes and open arms left standing in the dust years past. Cities swallowed him whole. Noise drowned the silence, but not the ache, not the memory, not the eyes that watched him disappear, now deep in the jungle where vines have reclaimed the forgotten. And time breathes slowly. A wild gorilla holds a trembling puppy to his chest and won't let go. He watches the trees. He listens to the wind as if expecting a voice that never came. And in that stillness, something ancient stirs, something broken but unyielding, because love that is real doesn't vanish. It waits. It survives. And when the moment finally comes, when footsteps return to the place where silence first began, the earth itself seems to hold its breath because something lost is about to be found. In the slow rhythm of city mornings, Koa wakes before the alarm, not out of necessity, but habit the kind, formed long ago by early jungle sunrises, when something heavy and warm would nudge his side. Now it's just cold sheets and silence. He brews his coffee the same way every day. 2 sugars, 1 stir clockwise. His fingers pause over the rim unconsciously, expecting a curious nose to nudge his hand, but nothing comes. The apartment is neat, lived in but untouched by joy. A worn carving of a gorilla's face sits on the windowsill, its wood smoothed by years of absent-minded tracing. His phone buzzes. He doesn't answer. The world outside moves fast traffic, voices, screens, but inside Koa's life time has thickened like sap around memory. He walks to work past a park where dogs run wild and children laugh. He doesn't stop, never does, but his eyes always follow one, black-furred puppy that climbs trees instead of chasing balls when night falls. He leaves one window open, just a crack, not for air, but for something else, something he can't name. He tells himself he's moved on, but the echo of a soft grunt in his dreams says otherwise. In every quiet moment, every ritual, every still breath, there's a space shaped like something lost and never spoken. It happened too fast, too loud, too final. The truck's engine roared like it was trying to drown out the truth, and in the blur of motion and dust, Koa turned once, just once, and saw Nuru running harder than he ever had, arms reaching, eyes wide. Not in anger, but in confusion, as if to ask why, and Koa pressed his hand to the window, mouth open, but no sound came, because what sound could carry enough weight to hold back goodbye? The village vanished. The trees gave way to buildings, and nothing smelled like rain anymore. The city had no breath, no rhythm, no soul. Koa kept quiet. He became good at that, folding his feelings down into smaller and smaller spaces until they disappeared from view. He learned to smile without meaning it, to answer without speaking, to wake without reason. And across the wild, Nuru returned to the forest, but not to the life he knew. He stopped. Climbing stopped playing. He sat by the path Koa had taken for days, then weeks, then longer, until the wind carried no scent, and the road swallowed all sound. He wandered, but never far, eyes always on the edge of the world, listening for something familiar. Days turned into seasons, into years, and the silence between them grew thick like fog, a silence that no one else could hear, but that lived in both of them, shaped their bones, hollowed their hearts. It was not just distance, it was the absence of recognition, of voice, of presence, and in that absence they both disappeared. Not all at once, but slowly, quietly, painfully, until they forgot what it felt like to be seen. Let me pause here for just a moment. Tell me, where are you listening from? Have you ever felt it? That quiet ache when someone you loved, human or animal, remembered you after years apart. Maybe it was a look, a sound, a small gesture that said, "I still know you." Share your story in the comments. I'd love to hear it. And if these kinds of stories speak to your heart, don't forget to follow. There's so much more ahead, and it only gets deeper. It started with a sound barely louder than the hum of the city. A friend's voice saying, "Hey, have you seen this?" And then a screen lit up with shaky footage, sunlight flickering through jungle leaves, and there he was. A gorilla crouched low arms, wrapped around a tiny shivering puppy, not moving, not blinking, just holding. And in that stillness, Koa felt something snap and unravel all at once, because it wasn't just any gorilla. It was the way he tilted his head, the scar above his brow, the way his fingers brushed the pup's fur like it was made of glass. It was Nuru. It had to be Nuru. Memory came crashing back like a storm. The feel of thick fur beneath his hand, the sound of a low, contented grunt, the eyes that once looked at him like he was the whole world. And now they were looking again through a screen, across years, through loss. Koa's breath caught, his heart surged, and then fear followed. What if it's not him? What if it is? And he doesn't remember? What if I go back and find nothing? What if I go back and find everything? He didn't sleep that night. He sat on the floor surrounded by things he hadn't touched in years. Photos, carvings, a small stone Nuru once placed in his hand, like a gift, like a promise, and somehow it still held warmth the next morning without knowing how he was packing. Not running, not escaping. Not this time. Every step felt uncertain, but something deeper than doubt moved him forward. Not certainty, not logic, just a whisper of hope that the bond they hadn't been erased, only buried waiting. And now it was reaching out again, trembling but alive. The air was thick with heat and memory. Leaves rustled like they were whispering secrets, and every step Koa took felt like walking through a dream, the kind where the world is, both familiar and distant, where everything matters more than words can hold. The villagers stood still as statues, eyes wide but quiet, as if afraid a single sound might break what was about to happen. And there in the clearing, half shadow, half light, sat Nuru holding the puppy against his chest, not like an animal protecting prey, but like something fragile and beloved, his body larger, now darker, his shoulders heavier from years lived alone, but something in the way he breathed in, the way he blinked, slowly told Koa this was him. This was home. Koa's voice caught before it could form, but then it came low and cracked, barely a whisper. Nuru. The name fell like a stone into water, and the silence rippled. Nuru looked up slowly, not startled, not afraid, just focused, like he was searching for something impossible, and then he saw him. Their eyes met, and something ancient lit up behind the gorilla's gaze, recognition. Sharp, sudden, silent. Nuru rose slowly, the puppy slid down gently, unharmed, unnoticed, because in that moment there was only Koa and him. The gorilla took one step, then another, his breath loud in the hush of the jungle. Koa couldn't move, not from fear, but from the sheer weight of feeling. And then Nuru stopped right in front of him, close enough to touch, but didn't. His hand hovered in the air between them, trembling unsure until Koa raised his own and closed the distant skin against fur. Memory against reality, and that was it. The dam broke the space between them, vanished, and Nuru pulled him, close, wrapped him in arms that once cradled a child, and now held a man, and Koa fell into him, shaking, silent, crying without sound the way children cry when the world finally gives something back. The puppy circled them once, then curled beside their feet, and the villagers said nothing. Because how could they? This wasn't for them. This was for the part of the world that still believes in things that never die. This was love remembering itself. In the days that followed, there were no grand moments, no declarations, no promises, only quiet things, the kind that matter more than words. Koa sat by the edge of the jungle every morning, not expecting, just being, and Nuru would appear from the trees. Not close at first, but near enough to see, near enough to listen. They moved slowly, like old songs finding their rhythm again. Sometimes Nuru would reach out, take a leaf from Koa's shoulder as he used to, or nudged the puppy toward him, as if to say, "This is part of us now." Koa began to laugh again. Not loudly, but freely, the way he hadn't in years, and Nuru responded with small sounds, deep hums, low rumbles, echoes of the language they once shared one afternoon. Koa held out a carved figure from their childhood, worn and chipped, and Nuru touched it with the tip of his finger, then placed his hand over Koa's for a moment longer than necessary. A gesture of memory, of agreement, of "I remember you too." The puppy thrived between them, bounding from shadow to sun, chasing nothing but light. Their world was simple, but full, and every glance, every shared breath, every mirrored movement was proof that what they had wasn't lost, just waiting for time to catch up. And now it had. There was no need to explain, no need to go back. They had arrived, and in the quiet, that followed. The only truth left was this: real love does not demand. It does not rush, it simply remains, waiting to be found again, waiting to bring us home. Some bonds need no words. They travel silently through the cracks of time, across walls of distance, and through the heaviest shadows of fear and silence they endure. Because true attachment is not bound by presence or absence. It does not wither with neglect nor break. Beneath the weight of years, it simply waits quietly, patiently, like a seed beneath winter snow, ready to bloom again when the moment is right to return and fill the spaces left empty, to heal the wounds thought impossible to mend. And in that return, there is a quiet power, a reminder that what we carry in our hearts can never truly be taken away, that love once given remains alive beyond all endings and beginnings, waiting always to bring us back home when we need it most.